Welcome to Six and the Six. Our fabulous guest this evening, Melanie, aka Mel Lesmerises.
Hello.
Yay! Woo! You are the first goalie mom.
Oh,
So this could be interesting. So everyone that wonders what might go through a goalie mom's head, we maybe we'll find out tonight. But first, the intro music. All right.
fabulous.
Mel, how the heck are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am pretty good myself. Busy, but that's good. It's been a while since I've actually seen you in person.
I know it has been.
Actually, I think when was that? You dropped the cornhole boards off.
I did, and that was at the scrimmages. So got
Right.
to see you during the scrimmage.
So I was thinking actually it's something we have in common is the cornhole tournament was in support for Marines, if I recall.
Correct. It was for Building Dreams for Marines, which is a local foundation here in New Hampshire that helps to build handicap accessible units for veterans. So if a veteran has become disabled and needs a ramp or needs a remodel or needs something done with their home, we raise the money that goes in to the fund and then they apply. And Jim, my husband, actually is on the board for that charity.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You may or may not know that myself through Deny is a sponsor of the Shootout for Soldiers,
Aw.
which is a national I can't talk national organization.
Okay.
Put on lacrosse games. They do a number of things, but the part I'm involved in is raising money. They get lacrosse games to go. This year I sponsored the first, I believe it was the first in New York all goalie box game.
Oh, that's so fun.
Oh, it was super fun. And I'm hoping next year to get enough girls interested that we can have an all girl box game and an all boy box game.
Yeah.
Because I think some of the girls maybe didn't come out because they didn't want to get beat up a little bit, or maybe they didn't want to do the beating up. One of those sides. Not sure
Hmm.
which one. So yeah, that's cool. And they looked like a good time at that cornhole hole tournament. I was sad I
Yeah.
couldn't make the trip.
I know, but thank you so much for sponsoring, and hopefully the boards are great, and they really appreciated the sponsorship. It goes a long way to helping those that are in need. So
Yeah,
much appreciated.
good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. First, goalie mom. We'll see where this goes. So, but let's go back a little before
Mhm.
I believe you were a collegiate athlete yourself.
So yeah, I played golf in high school, a little bit in college, but this is nothing compared to, well, Miss Shauna's journey. So different, everything from high school to travel. We didn't have all of that when I was in high school. Those options are very minimal. I played in the junior women's PGA league in Washington State. That was super fun. Lots of great competitions, state competitions. So very similar, I guess, in fashion to the travel lacrosse they have now, just not as in depth and not as many resources back then, I guess you could say, as now.
Right, definitely. And we'll get more into some of that. How do you feel your experience with your athletics kind of shaped, molded, helped you um, kind of help Shauna in her path?
I think it helps to be relatable to your kids no matter what they do. So having the experience of being an athlete and trying different sports and really just being athlete minded was very helpful. Shauna is much more of a perfectionist than I ever was. So it was very hard. I know. It's very hard to find that balance with her to where it was, enough of a support system, because she was hard enough on herself. She didn't need anybody else, to be that driving force. She was always that driving force. So that was really tough to get used to, as a parent, not being the hammer, but being that soft place for her to fall instead. So it was a very tough and delicate balance at first.
Yeah, did you find growing up with her, were there opportunities where she pivoted or adjusted and tried something else and kind of dabbled around in some different sports until she found lacrosse? And how were you able to help guide her through that?
Yeah, so I mean, kindergarten, she played soccer. I think all kindergartners play soccer. Um, and then my husband was really into baseball. So he started coaching, and she played t-ball from the time she was, 6 years old, all the way through majors. So she played baseball all the way until she was turning 13. And she played basketball. So basketball and baseball were her two main sports. Basketball, she started about second grade. So she kind of dillied back and forth between the two. It was a big balance when she started playing both. And then came seventh grade, where kind of what you're saying, some of her friends wanted to spend more time with her, and they said, well, come play lacrosse with us. It's just another sport. Why not? It's not like your mother has anything else to do, but sure, let's play another sport. Um, so she's like, okay. So she goes out to the field and to her first practice and shows up, knows nothing about the game, has no equipment, nothing. Um, and she just had a blast. And she's like, well, this is fun. And the first day, the coach was like, we don't have a goalie. And she's like, well, I've never played lacrosse before, so I could just try that. And the rest was history. So she kind of pivoted from, baseball into basketball, playing both of those. And it was the same in each sport for her, really not any different. I think she was the most relaxed in baseball than anything. And I think that was just because there was a lot of downtime and a lot of time to mess around in the dugout. And she was the only girl. So that was fun. And then took basketball very seriously. I mean, this second grader was, you would think she was trying out for the WNBA. Um, yeah, yeah. We'll talk about foul shots later.
Oh,
Uh,
oh, I got to see firsthand when little Miss ACL recovery was playing basketball with the lacrosse team as an event, and she was just draining three-pointers. I was like, okay.
mhm. Yeah, no, she's just she's a versatile athlete. And I think the biggest thing that has helped her through all of it is the dedication she has to her teammates. She is such a good teammate. She is just always the first to, pick someone up when they're down, or try to rally the team when something's going wrong. So I think that's carried her through no matter what sport she's playing, and it's served her very well.
Yeah, I definitely see that it's carried through. I guess that's part of your DNA, so that wouldn't change. So she's definitely a good teammate. You say
Yeah.
baseball, you're talking overhand, fast pitch. No, we're not talking softball here, right?
No, baseball. Yep.
Yeah,
Only girl on the team, baseball.
does not surprise me, and she was probably kicking their butts.
That's how she got her nickname Bean, right?
I did not know that.
Uh-huh. So she used to crowd the plate to scare the pitcher, and the pitcher would get nervous every single time. So they'd hit her and they'd walk her, and then she would steal first to second base. And she would do this relentlessly. Just get up there, shake her little booty, and make them hit her. So they started calling her Bean. And then she had a pink helmet. So her coach, Neil, started calling her Jelly Bean. And it's stuck ever since. So it's Jelly Bean, Beans, Beaner, whatever you want to call her.
Uh,
But that's where she got that.
well, that explains a little bit of why she doesn't flinch with lacrosse shots if she just stood in front of those baseball pitches.
Yeah. she's crazy. I mean, there's just no other word for it.
She's a little nuts. That's okay though. So what was your thought when you found out? Were you there when they offered the goalie position, or did she come running home and say, "Mom, I'm going to be a lacrosse goalie"? And what went through your head when you found out she was going to be a lacrosse goalie?
So we were there because it was seventh grade. So, it was literally the first couple of days. And it's actually really funny because the coach loved how much she could run. She was super fast and athletic. So he really didn't want her to be a goalie. He's like, I want her to be an attacker. And she wants to try goalie. And I'm like, well, I think we need to let her try what she wants to try. So she said, I'll give it a go. So Jim reached out to his buddy JL, who had a whole bunch of, goalie equipment from his daughter, and he gave her her whole first set of goalie equipment. Her one condition was, I'll do it, but I am not sharing equipment with anyone
Ah,
in seventh grade. I mean, kudos, because ew, right? I don't want to do
right.
that. So I was kind of like, shocked at first. And I was like, oh, great. Now I'm going to have to stand here and listen to these parents who are going to whine when the ball goes in the net and say what a horrible goalie this is. It's like all that's going through my head. And I'm like, I really don't want to deal with that because you know me and it's not going to go well for them. So um, that was like the first thing that went through my mind. But I was like, yeah, if anybody can do it, she can. So she got out there and it was just a natural instinct for her to step in front of the ball. And I think her quest for perfection was like, that ball is not getting past me. So, and she's got really good hand-eye coordination, which I think I had really good hand coordination for golf, but um she's exceptional. So it was scary at first, made me really nervous. She had the big Kim Kardashian pads, that they used to have.
I've heard
Uh,
about those.
yeah. Oh, they all called her Kim. It was great.
Kimmy, Kimmy
Kimmy,
Bean.
Kimmy. But yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but this was about what she wanted to do. So I was like, all right, if this is what you want to try, give it a go. And I know her. She gives 100% to everything she does. So she's either gonna love it or she's gonna hate it 100%. Like there's no in between. Um, but it was great. She did awesome. And ever since then, she just kept playing goalie. She got some play time in the field, like when there was another goalie at times, and she would score and had a blast. But she's always just been of that really good defensive mindset in basketball and, always stealing the ball, always watching what's going on. And she has this amazing ability to see everything in front of her, like that I would never see. So she did great. I was nervous, but she did really great.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different path than there usually like two paths into the net. One is that your older siblings need someone to shoot on.
Yeah.
Um, or there's like, oh, please, we have nobody else to play. But it was partially that one, but it seemed like she was partially her own path, which is a little unique, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised at all, especially now knowing why her nickname's Bean and having some insight into her perfectionist kind of mindset. I can see why she is who she is.
Yeah.
So you talked about parenting,
Mm.
and one of my favorite topic, well, I guess it's kind of like religion and politics. I kind of stay away from it, is the crazy youth sports parent.
Oh,
Um, and I'm sure starting from seventh grade when she became the goalie up through, heck, I don't know, maybe even now on the sidelines, I'm sure you get to hear lots of interesting perspectives from the sideline as a goalie mom.
mm.
Boy, can't you stop something? Hey, put my kid in. I can think of a lot of things I've heard. What have your experiences been kind of dealing with that adversity from a parent side of hearing some of that perhaps less than positive feedback?
So, if I didn't lead by example, this would be really hard for Shauna. So I've always had to just ignore it. And the best advice that I can give to anybody is you kill them with kindness. So there was a lot of that, more in travel ball than anything. So travel ball was pretty tough. Oh Lord. Here comes the bean.
Well, I figured since you busted in on her
Oh,
podcast that we'd let her bust in on yours.
busted.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hello, Bean. I did
Oh
not know
yeah.
why your nickname was Bean until just before you got on here, and it explains a lot.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Stepping in front of pitches left and right.
and
Bean.
you busted in as mom was talking about how she was a positive role model on the sidelines amongst crazy
Only in
parents.
lacrosse.
Yeah,
Only in
basketball was a
lacrosse.
different story.
Yeah, let's not talk about basketball. This is about lacrosse.
Oh, she wasn't a
Um,
goalie in
Exactly. We're
basketball,
just
so we'll keep it in lacrosse.
yeah.
yeah,
No, I
probably
think
better.
so. As I was saying, you're so cute, Shauna. Now I'm all
Oh,
distracted. Oh, there goes my phone. So there was a lot of that talk on the sidelines, and Shauna was very aware of all of that, and the parents and the kids, and I would say more of it, like I said, came from travel ball than it did from high school. Um, so that was tough. It was very tough to hear, and I would just casually sometimes say, "Oh, are you talking about Shauna the goalie? Yeah, that's my daughter." And that would just kind of, shut the trap for a few. So that's kind of how we handled that. It, at least that's how I handled that. I think Shauna got a really good, healthy dose of that at a very tough game that they lost in high school. And she could hear it all from the sidelines. And that was really, really tough game for her to get through. But as I've always said, those kids, those parents, they know nothing about you, who you are, your drive, what you can do. And if they think they can do better, let them get out there and give it a shot. So we had one, in particular parent that was tough for several years and just killed him with kindness. It's tough to hear, it's tough to watch, it's tough to see, because our job as parents is to be there for them and support them and be supportive of the team and everybody else. So that's just the mantra that we led with. And it's a tough pill to swallow at times, but you had great coaches, and those coaches were always there to talk me off a ledge when they knew what was going on too. And that was amazing. So her high school coach was probably, I think, one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. And that's Mel, Catenza, right? I always say her last name wrong.
yeah, it's Catenza.
Yeah, Catenza. And she's just such a support system. So I think we all just kind of band together and take the high road. Long story short, is you take the high road, it's never worth stooping to that level. You never want to make anybody feel the way they're making your child feel or you feel as a parent. So
Yeah,
that's
and
the
I think it's tough because you have better insight into, kind of the heart and the soul and the love and stuff like that. And it's, I don't know many, if any, young athletes who are just purposely screwing up. So it's, I don't, my kind of thing is, your career was over. Sit down and enjoy enjoy your daughters and let them play.
Exactly. There's so much to learn. And honestly, I feel like you learn more from losing than you do from winning. So that's just how I've always operated. What did you learn? You lost? Okay, great. What are you going to change next time? How do you grow from always winning? You don't. So you can't have the I always need to win mentality. You have to have there's wins, there's losses, learn how to win, learn how to lose. This is part of life.
Yeah, and Shauna, from the athlete perspective on that, because I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before you popped on, kind of your perfectionist mentality and your not being afraid of the ball and just what kind of drives you. So in those times where some of the stuff you could hear was kind of getting in your head, how important was it for you, like Mel just talked about, projecting that positive support your way? I mean, could you feel that from Nat? Could you feel that rides home? How important was it to your growth?
I knew that like in those moments, what I needed to do is just look over and look at my family and look at the people who were there for me and kind of just remember what my purpose was, why I was there, what I was working for, what my goal was. And I kind of just had to block out the other things to the point where honestly I couldn't hear background noise anymore.
Mhm.
There were times where I did give in and I did chirp back, which was probably not the smartest decision,
No, not you.
but we'll
No,
say that I didn't get caught, so it's fine. But not that I really say anything bad. It's more just
you
like,
got caught by me.
you know, yeah, that's a different story.
Well,
Um, but I knew that those were things that I just had to ignore, and I honestly kind of got used to over time because I've dealt with it from plenty of different people to the point where having kids my age do it to me was kind of just like it's not as bad as a parent
Yeah.
or something else. And I've had to deal with it among other things outside of sports, like when I umpired baseball, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of just got used to handling other people and just dealing with the criticism and certain things that I would hear and just pushing it past me because I knew what I was supposed to do and what I needed to fix and those types of things. So I was always trying to just pick myself up and then would look to my teammates, look to my family, and look to the people who I know were there to support me because that's really what matters more than what other people think about you.
Yeah. And I think you also learned a lot of that through your job too. You've worked at the same place for
Yeah.
a long time and you've had to handle some pretty tough situations. And I think people forget how similar sports is to work, to life, to school. It's all the same thing. So it's just learning how to navigate these things and always keeping your head above water and always reaching for what your goal is as a goalie goalies have
Oh,
goals, I don't know, whatever.
see what you're doing
yes,
there.
that's a lot of goals.
So yeah, I think that's important. I think that served you very well through all of that. There were a few times that she did chirp back and I heard her chirp back and that didn't end well.
I think you made a good
Yeah.
point, and I think it's maybe a little overused about how sports is lessons for life, and you hear that all the time, but I don't know if I think it's said so often that it doesn't always sink into to
Mhm.
people listening to that, but that's a great point, that adversity and all
Yeah.
that good stuff. Um, kind of the other side of that coin, and maybe both of you, those kids that weren't as fortunate to have the support, or maybe the kid of that crazy parent. um
Mm.
I've seen them be either straight up embarrassed. I've seen them yell at their parents, tell
Hmm.
them to shut it and be quiet. And I've seen them shut completely down, because they're not sure who to listen to anymore, the yelling parent or the coach or the teammates. I'm sure you've both seen that. How did, from a parental side, how did you maybe deal with that for someone else's kid? And from a teammate who, I know you're such a good teammate and team player, Shauna. How did you, from your perspective, deal with those situations?
Yeah. So from a parental side, all I could do as a parent is just support that kid. So every time that specific kid would come off the field, huge hug, great job, you're awesome, and of course she would vent, she'd be upset, and she'd know what's coming. And it was just always support. You just support them. That's all I could do. There really wasn't anything else I can do. It wasn't worth, getting into it with said parent. It was just being a solid place for that kid to fall. Um, and that's just how I handled it every time there was one. And that's how we handle friends who need help. And that's how we handle kids who are in less fortunate situations than we are. Again, it carries over to everything you do. So if you always lead with kindness first, you really can't go wrong. So I just was always the first to tell her great job, the first to post about her, the first to, just offer that support.
Love it. You didn't want to be the first bleacher brawl in New Hampshire?
Well, I did. I I did, like in the worst way, wanted that to happen. However, I knew that it was not a good idea. So I didn't. And I'm very proud of myself.
Good, as am I.
I'm giving you a pat on the back
Uh,
right now.
Shauna,
Yeah,
how'd
there
you
you go.
how'd you deal with that? I'm sure the your experience was a little more up close with those kids who had that issue. How were you able to help them navigate?
Yeah, I mean, we were best friends. Like we were pretty inseparable. So I would never leave the field without her. She would wait for me, I would wait for her. I'd pick her up when she was down, she'd pick me up when I was down. Your regular, really close friendship. And I knew what was going to happen. She knew what was going to happen. We'd take that really long walk across the field to talk about what was going on, everything that happened in the game, what was good, what was bad, what we think we could do better next time. And it's really just a casual conversation that turned into, like something happy at the end because I didn't really want her walking over there all down and sad and irritated, because it's not a good feeling. I've had that feeling because we all know that I'm very tough on myself. And so I know exactly how that is for her, but I didn't really want that to be kind of the outcome for her when she didn't have someone to pick her up. Whereas when I would walk off the field, all angry and mad and sad and feeling all these kinds of emotions, I would have someone standing there smiling at me, laughing at me, telling me what I did good. And so having someone to pick you up when you're down is more important when you know that they're headed to worse things.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be as helpful as I possibly could, even though I really can only do so much, but what I can do is what I will do. So yeah.
Love it. So back to Shauna's career, Mel. Some of the emotional highs and lows, and maybe more from I think the junior year you guys lost the states and you came back senior, was it?
Sophomore. Sophomore,
Sophomore.
because junior year was COVID.
Oh yeah, stupid COVID. Am I allowed to say stupid on my own
Yeah.
podcast?
Yep.
Okay.
By the way,
No,
I'm doing
never.
very good with my goal so far.
Yes, thank you for that. So I don't have to put that
Welcome.
little e sticker on the bottom.
Welcome.
So like talk a little bit about that emotional roller coaster, maybe from your freshman year up through your senior year, and how, again, from a parental side, how did you help Shauna navigate through some of the difficulties? I'm sure she came home and expressed some frustrations about some things, and how were you able to help through that?
Well, Shauna's a very tough nut to crack at first. So she always kept things very close to her. And she didn't always want people to know when she was struggling. So it would take about, I don't know, 232 tries for me to get her to tell me what was going on. But once
Exactly 232.
exactly, sometimes 233. Okay. Okay. So it was it was hard because it was hard for me not to get emotional listening to her. I had to keep my composure. If I see her cry, that's it. It's over. I'm done. I cry when she cries. So it was a lot of guiding, and really making her self-aware that she has the power to stand up for herself. So she needs to self-advocate. I am not always going to be there, to advocate for you through all of these things. So as you get into high school, these are things, the last thing a high school coach wants is mommy coming to you and saying, Shauna's upset. And, how do we deal with this? No, Shauna needs to go and talk to her coach. Shauna needs to deal with her coach. There's no reason that parents need to be involved at that
100%. Louder for the people in
level.
back, Mel. Louder for the
Thank you.
people in the back.
Yes. There is no reason that you need to talk to your children's coach. Did we all hear that? Okay.
I heard it in the back.
Thank you. Thank you in the back.
You're welcome.
So the best thing you can do at that point is give them the skills. That's our job as parents, to teach them how you would handle the situation. And how I would handle a situation is not necessarily how Shauna would handle a situation. So you have to kind of find like that happy medium. Like I go in guns a-blazing, all right, this is what's going on, fix it or I'm out, like that's just, yeah, yeah, I know.
Not you.
No. Um, that's my approach. Her approach is more laid back and wants to blend and be part of the team and not cause trouble. So we had to really find that delicate balance of her being able to speak up for herself, getting what she needs out of what she's doing. And honestly, she did beautifully with it. It was tough at first for her, I think, a very uncomfortable transition, but man, once she got it, I really don't think, Shauna, that there was much that I had to really get involved with. You really, learn to solve those on your own, which came huge when it was time for recruiting, which I'm sure we'll talk about after. But just self advocacy. That was my goal through high school, just to get her to speak for herself.
Well, I think that's a great point because some of the athletes I work with that are struggling on the confidence side,
Mhm.
they one of the things I try to get them to do is start to have a voice for themselves, and they can start to see some headway made by doing that and having that voice, and it opens up other things, which ultimately can lead to more confidence. Shauna, for you, um, having that help and that guidance to kind of find your own voice and your own advocacy for yourself, did you see a direct correlation into your confidence on and off the field as a result of that?
I think so. I'm a very non-confrontational person.
I
I
don't know where
really
you get
don't
that
like
from.
conflict. I don't know. But it's not my jam. It's not something I like to deal with. I'm not a problem starter. I don't love to be a problem solver.
I'm not a fire
but some but I learned that I do have to solve problems. And I can't just let it fester and grow and continue to,
starter.
do that type of thing. So I found that in using my voice, I felt a little bit better about myself and was able to translate that onto how I played on the field, not being afraid to be a leader, not being afraid to say what I think and how I feel, and not being afraid to give constructive criticism to people. Um, I am a very big believer in constructive criticism, and I love taking it, but it was hard for me to give it because I don't like to hurt people's feelings, and I want to try and do it in like the softest possible ways that I can. But at the same time, I can't be completely soft because then it's like a compliment sandwich, like you're 5 years old, and then I'm treating you like you're a child. So it
I
was a
love that
big,
you called it a compliment sandwich when it's not,
I don't,
that's what it's not called, but we can't say that, so it's fine.
Well,
it's,
that's what I've always
well,
heard it
because
called when you're talking to 5-year-olds.
no, it's a
Oh,
compliment sandwich because you give them a compliment, you tell them what they did wrong, and then you close it out with another compliment.
do you
Sandwich,
know what
all
it's
together.
really? Yeah, no. So I was raised differently and it was called something else.
Well, I don't know. That's how I heard it, but I realized that I can't do that. And with
Yeah.
some guidance on how to approach people in situations and how to be as constructive as I can possibly be really helped me on the field to grow myself and to grow my team. So
Well, so
I
let me
found
ask
that
you a
very
follow-up
useful.
on that because it's kind of like the harsh reality of your feedback. You don't necessarily you don't want to slap them upside the face. But I mean, I have
Mhm.
found, and let me know if you've found this, like if you can build a relationship with the person you're giving the feedback to, so they know that you care and aren't trying to beat them down. Do you feel more comfortable in those situations of just laying it out there straight for them because you don't think you're going to hurt their, as opposed to someone you don't. I don't know. For me, if I don't know them, I don't care, so I'll just say it anyway. Because what are they going to do? Leave you? Bye. If I care
Bye.
about them. Hopefully, it already built that relationship.
Right.
Yeah, I find it 100% easier to approach someone that I know. I know the way they think, I know the way they play, I know how they will take what I tell them. Like I had two teammates in high school who I had played with for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And I knew them like almost like the back of my hand. I knew exactly how they operated. I know how they play. I know how they take criticism and how they put it back into play. So it was super easy to approach those people and be like, I need this to happen. How do I go about telling other people that this is what I need to happen? And that's kind of the dynamic that we had together, especially when we were eventually captains together and that type of thing. It was a much easier approach to the situation. Sorry, I just heard doors. And people. I thought there was someone in here, but there's not, so we're good. But I find it easier to approach those people that I know really well because I know how they'll take what I say. And whether it comes off strong or it doesn't, I know that they can sort of understand exactly what I'm saying and break it down from there. Because I know that I needed a lot of help trying to figure out how to convey it to the rest of my defense, to the rest of my team, because I didn't know certain people as well. Especially because we had a lot of inexperienced players
Yeah.
where I played. So it was teaching.
Yes.
And a lot of what I did throughout high school was teaching the game, which is probably one of the biggest reasons why I left to coach. Um, but having those people who I know so well to help me do it was also very helpful for my confidence and my ability to lead.
I
I think, oh, go ahead.
love that you just tied that back into the goalie position because I was gonna do a follow up with that, which how that must have really helped you project what you needed them to do for you in front of you. And I mean, you just did that for me. So I love
Yeah.
that tie-in.
I think that was a very, I think this is why she's so successful at the things that she does, because she was really thrown into a mentor position before she even knew it was a mentor position. You know, it was one of those things where she came in and she took over that goalie spot when they didn't have somebody strong enough. And I'm sure, Shauna, it was so frustrating at times when, you know, all you're doing is teaching and you feel like in the moment that you're not getting what you need as a goalie or what
Mhm.
you need in that position because you didn't necessarily have a goalie coach. But the amount she learned from teaching was insane. And I think that's what took her game, honestly, to the next level. So I'm so glad that things worked the way that they did because it made her grow up very quickly on the field.
Well, and that last point, Mel, is exactly why I get the goalies I work with, try to get them
Uh,
involved in coaching with me because
yeah.
I think just being on the other side of that, and it can be the most basic fundamental of saying, hey, you need to do, you need to step this way on that kind of shot. And then you're like, hold it, am I doing that? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a couple different levels of that. So
Yeah.
I love all of that.
Yeah.
Um, brings us to kind of the recruiting journey here.
Mhm.
Being a parent of an lacrosse athlete myself, I know how that journey can be a little stressful. It wasn't too bad around here. Um, how was that? How was that for you guys?
Mhm.
Going through that process, not knowing where to go, eventually ending up on my doorstep, which I
Woohoo.
remember you on one side of the fence and Shauna being a maniac and not wanting that hockey ball to hit the turf. How was that? How was that trip for you guys?
You know, it was amazing, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was stressful. There was a lot that went on, but I think some of the best times that Shauna and I ever had were traveling. And it was by ourselves, just the two of us being stupid. The amount of videos I have of this child in hotel rooms doing dumb things and hallways, making her sing,
Oh,
"Do you want
I
to build a
forgot about that.
snowman in the hallway to get back in the door?" I mean, so many things.
Okay, I am sorry. We have to actually just say the whole thing because we didn't have a big enough trash can for the takeout box that we had, and so I had to go down the hall to dispose of the box. And I already know because she's giggling. I'm like, what is she gonna do to me? So I just decide, okay, whatever, I'll figure it out when I get back. And I dispose of the
You did
box
forward rolls down the hallway.
on the way back. No,
Yeah,
it was on the way back.
yeah.
Yeah. So I got to the trash can. I don't know what kind of mood I was in, but some kind of funny one. And I forward rolled all the way back down the hallway, past probably 15, 20 rooms to get back to our room. And she decided to shut the door on me, stare at me through the peephole. And the only thing I could think of was the knock sequence from Frozen. And so you could just hear. And then I started singing the song. And I asked her if she wanted to build a snowman with me. And eventually I got her laughing so hard that she opened the door.
Well, I did yell no, and probably everybody was like, what is
She did
going on
yell
in this
no.
room?
There were a lot of people walking down that hallway. It was a little embarrassing, but at the same time, I knew I was never ever going to see them again. So why would I care?
I wasn't embarrassed. I was in the
Of
room.
course you weren't. You were inside the room.
Hiding
Okay,
in the
anyway.
room.
Changes the
My
whole
back
thing.
is sore just hearing about you doing forward rolls down the hall.
I was
She'll
pretty
do
good at it,
anything.
actually.
Literally,
She has,
tell her to just
yeah.
drop and do forward rolls on the turf. She will. Just
Just as
remember
long as I can shake my helmet off, because that might be slightly uncomfortable.
that. Okay. So anyway, um, some of the best times we had were travel. It was, I wouldn't trade it for anything. The time, the money, the investment, the linking business trips to lacrosse tournaments so that I could make it work. Um, it was a lot. And I think it was a lot for her. It was a lot for her. It was a lot for me, but we will never get those moments back. And I'm so grateful that we had as much time as we did before she ended up 6.5 hours away from me because she wanted to go play with you. So, okay, fine. Um, you know, I would say as a parent, again, the best advice I can give for the recruiting process is to, again, encourage your kids to be the ones who lead the process. Um, we were very lucky in the sense that the Tomahawks that she played for did have recruiting assistants. So they set us up with Shauna, what was the name of the sports recruit?
Sports recruits.
So we set up a sports recruits account. I did all the video. I put all the videos together. I spent a lot of time on that and uploaded those, but that was the extent of my responsibility. Her responsibility started at researching schools, figuring out where she wanted to go. Do you want to go south, north, up here, down there, big school, little school? We talked about all those differences. And then I can tell you, I'm not going to sit there until 11 o'clock at night sending emails to coaches. That's your job. So if you really want this, you got to go get it. So that was, it was a team effort. Parents, she can't film herself while she's on the field. So that's my job, right? I'm there, I'm watching every tournament. I help her put together her recruiting videos, but she had to be the one to reach out. And when a coach emails, don't respond on behalf of your child. They know the difference. Let your child respond because they want to know who they are. They don't want to know who you are. They could care less that you're not playing on their team or potentially going to be there. So it's another form of preparing them for being on their own, you know?
Although
So
you
that
could
was,
be that crazy parent on the sideline again. So I don't know. So Shauna, I mean, Mel kind of you minimized a little bit the amount of work involved in north, south, east, west, big, large, rural, city. So Shauna, from your perspective, I mean, that can be a lot of work. How did you filter through, and what advice would you give somebody starting the process of how to kind of filter through and narrow in on what you want?
I started out really broad just to sort of get what I had out there, get my film out to other people. I just went with the schools that I knew and I started sending some emails just because why not? You never know where it's going to go. And we really started all the research probably my sophomore year before we could even really, do a lot in regards to getting responses and such. But I started researching schools freshman year, and then by the time I made it to sophomore year, I had a very large Google spreadsheet. Whether or not I filled out the questionnaire, where they were, what conference they were in, whether or not I had contacted them yet, all the info and whether or not they had my major, all that stuff. Very big spreadsheet. I still have it. It's gigantic.
I think we had
Um,
75 schools on there. I think it was 75.
Probably something like that. Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
right around there ballpark. And so I just reached out, and when I got stuff back, I was like, okay, so I'm getting like some sort of response from them in regards to they want me at a prospect day, this, that. And so I would kind of make extra marks, asterisks, do all that stuff on my own. I did spend a lot of my study hall periods doing that rather than homework, but I'm a procrastinator, so it's fine. Um, I didn't procrastinate on the recruiting. I put that ahead of everything else. I just procrastinated on the schoolwork, but it's fine. I still got my A's. It was great. And so from there, I started to kind of keep track of, who was on the sidelines at tournaments. And there were a lot of the parents on my team who would write down who was there, and then they'd send it out to the teams so that we knew who was at each of our games. And I'd be like, okay, so they saw me, they saw me, they saw me. And I was able to kind of narrow it down at that point. I knew what I wanted. I am I have major social anxiety. I am not a very good, like, I don't like big crowds and such. So I decided, I was like, I don't want a big school. It's too much for me. And I'd probably get lost on campus because I'm directionally challenged.
I remember the moment that you realized that too, and that was when we were in North Carolina.
Yeah, we were at High Point and we went on that tour. She watched me the entire time and I was like zero happy emotion. And I felt so bad because we made the trip out there and I was like, this is insane. I don't know if I can do that. And like, she did all of that for me. And I was like, well, crap. I'm kind of throwing it out the window at this point. But it helped me, that experience kind of helped me to narrow down what I wanted. I knew I wanted something small. And I wanted to play. And I knew that honestly, at the D1 level, I wasn't going to get a lot of playing time. Sure, I could have got there. I could have got recruited there. But I got to the point where I was like, I want to play. And when I talked to specific coaches and they were like, you will play, like they told me that I would get the time if I worked hard and, I did what I needed to do. And so I kind of narrowed it down to those who I felt confident would give me the chance. And when coach reached out to me after a tournament, at first I was skeptical because I'd never heard of the school before.
We both look at each other and
we were like,
who
who's that? I had to look it up on maps to find out where it was. I was like, never have I heard of this place before. And I know where Rochester is. And so, I did my research there. I talked to coach a lot, like a lot. And then I had my visit and I had even, like, I knew at that point before I even went and visited other schools, just in case, I was like, this is, I feel at home. And I wanted that at home feeling, at a place that was small, that had a collective team, that was family, that I knew that I needed, because I know I need a family away from home. I don't like being away from home. I'm a homebody. And so I knew that they had that. They had what I wanted to study. The campus is small enough for me to navigate and not get lost. And I enjoyed all the academic aspects too. So I knew, you get that feeling that where you're gonna go from there. And sure, I went to other places just to see if anything contended, but nothing really contended. And so I and the amount that coach showed up at my games, the amount of calls I had with her just to check in, those types of things, I knew I had someone who cared about me, and that was what I really needed. So I knew that this was a place that, I could be.
As a parent, that's all we can ask, right? Where your kids go is that they feel at home and they feel cared for. And from the first moment that we talked to Kristen, that's how it felt. There was no doubt in my mind that if she chose this place, that she would be just fine. And the smile on her face when we left that visit said it all. And I looked at her and I'm like, you want me to cancel everything else? And she's like, pretty much, but no, because we knew that she still needed to, go to these other places and put the effort in and check it out. But I think what sealed the deal was that last tournament in Florida, and it was just constantly showing up for her is what Shauna needed. It was just somebody constantly showing up for her. And she didn't always have that. She didn't always have that with friends, and she didn't always have that with consistency in high school, aside from her high school coach. And she reminded me a ton of her high school coach. And it just, whether she chose it or not, that would have been her choice. But I knew right then and there that was probably going to be where she ended up.
It doesn't sound like there was a lot of. Yeah, it
I was
doesn't.
gonna say, I think I knew when at that Florida tournament, coach was walking down the sideline. I turned my head and she goes like this, and I go like this. And I was like, Coach is here. I turn and look at her, she's filming. And I'm like, did you see that? Like,
She's yelling at me. I'm like, watch the field. There's a ball coming down and girls coming down. I'm like, can you focus on the game?
That's funny. It doesn't sound like there was a lot of stress in your journey there. And maybe there was underneath there, but do you feel because you were so prepared with that gigantic spreadsheet and were very methodical about your process that um, were you not really worried you were going to get hits? Because I know a lot of the stress is like no one's going to want me, and my friends already got calls and stuff like that. And I mean, did you feel any of that anxiety?
um, I feel like in the beginning I did, but honestly, when when September 1st hit and I got a lot of those emails, I was like, okay, so I'm not like unnoticeable. I was like, so at least there are people who see me. So I was like, it shouldn't be like the biggest concern right now. I kind of just have to figure out if there's someone who will, satisfy what I need. And sure, I was really stressed with all the emails and, making sure that I did everything ahead of time and being on schedule and doing all that stuff. But I feel like I was very prepared with the help from my mom. And just because I'm such a methodical person that I really need to have everything laid out in front of me because I'll get stressed if I don't. But I think being prepared for it ahead of time just really helped to make it a little bit easier. But it was very stressful, I know, especially for my mom because she had all that work to do, scheduling trips and making sure that she could film and then cutting the film, even though sometimes she would make some really hilarious progressions of me falling and hitting the ground to superhero music.
I can send
But
those. I can send those to you.
yeah, she
I can send
she
those to you.
still
Hold on,
has
can you send it
those.
with
She
the
can send
Kimmy
them
Bean
to.
butt?
Oh, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think that was probably still present at that point in time. That is very possible. Um,
Okay, but
it it was like yeah, she
I,
had fun with it, thank goodness.
I sure did. It
But
was stressful. There was a lot of stressful moments, and it's a lot to fit into a young kid's schedule when they're trying to navigate, the toughest years of high school, and they're trying to navigate a job and getting a license and hormones and all these things that are going on. And then to add, hey, I know you're only a freshman and sophomore in high school, but we need to think about college if you want to play in college. So I think that was probably the stressful part, but because
mhm.
we did it together and because we had so much fun doing it and because we were great travel teammates, until she threw my phone across the floor in the airport, on one of our trips, I'd say other than that, everything went swimmingly.
She scared me. She still has that video. She thought it would be funny when I was sitting on the bench that when she came back from the bathroom, she would try and scare me. So what happened? She tapped me. I turned around and I smacked the phone and it went sliding right across the airport floor. I would say probably about 20 to 30 people stopped and stared at me for about 5 seconds, but then they continued to move on. And then I went and grabbed the phone and started
But
dying
who
laughing.
cares? Because no one will ever see again, right? That's our motto. Who
No,
Right,
cares?
right.
just like the guy who was wearing the loafers with the really long socks and the Hawaiian shirt that walked past us in booty shorts at Chipotle in the Baltimore airport.
Hold on, was
And
that
I
me?
swear we were dying. No, it was not. It was not you. Um, we died laughing. The amount of
Uh,
people watching we did in the airport.
You
A
know, I
lot.
think the two of the things I think I'm going to take away from this, if I remember nothing else, is just the fun. Have fun during it.
mhm.
I think we put a lot of seriousness into it, which makes sense because we've worked our whole life to get what we want, and it's we don't want to lose it. But I think
Right.
keeping it fun is important, just like we should try to keep playing fun. And the
Yeah.
other thing you said it, Shauna, and just kind of blended in with those high school years and how we're feeling and stuff. You just wanted to be seen, and just that validation that you were seen helped relieve some of that stress. I think that's really important across the board.
Yeah.
Um, so segueing in, question 5. There's only 6 of these, and this is like taking a good length of time.
Sorry.
No need to be sorry. This is good. It's because we invited Bean in. It's
I
it's
know.
enhanced
She always
Sorry,
makes
it's not my
everything
fault.
longer.
So we talked about this a little bit, and Shauna is a very good coach. I really enjoy working with her. I know the goalies that work with her really enjoy working with her, as do their parents, based on feedback I get.
Aw.
I mean, Mel, what do you want to see her do? You know, would a career in coaching be good? It's obviously she's not going to school for coaching. Um, what's your thoughts about where the future goes with this?
So her future is going to go wherever she wants it to go. I've always been of the mindset that, haha, mindset. Did you get that? I've always been of the mindset that her journey is not my journey, it's hers. So I just want her to be happy in whatever she does, whether that's working at McDonald's flipping burgers or just kidding, I'm totally kidding. I think she'll probably end up in the field that she's chosen. And quite frankly, I hope she does because I really want to live through her, so that I can enjoy what she's going to do and, go for a ride along one day with her when she's solving crimes at crime scenes. Um, but I really want to see her give that gift that she has to others. So you can't give it to the dead people that you're going to investigate.
Unless they want to learn how to play lacrosse.
Right. But I would
Make a whole
love,
undead goalie corps.
ooh,
That'd be kind of cool.
zombie goalies,
Zombie goalie.
zombie lacrosse.
Ooh, I like it. There's your
Sounds kind
club,
of
I
like a
Bean.
video
like
game.
it. I would love to see her coach. I would love to see her spend some time, you know, before she gets serious into a career, having the ability to just enjoy the game and coach it and teach it and not be that responsible one on the field for saving everything and being out there as a player. I would absolutely love to see that happen. And I think she will. I think that she will. She loves coaching with you. It's like the highlight of her week, when she gets to go and do that. I don't necessarily mean you.
Must
I
be a
mean,
rough week. I was gonna say she must be
yeah.
having a rough week if that happens.
Every week.
Oh,
No, but I just want her to be happy. I just want her to do what makes her happy. And I would love to see her coach. I don't think that'll be what she does, forever, but I think she will. I think she'll coach a team and get herself to that point. But I just want her to do it's her journey. So as long as she's happy, I'm happy.
well, I hope so because I mean my secondary purpose of trying to get a lot of female goalies to help coaches, I strongly believe there needs to be more females coaching,
Hmm.
and especially people who are really good coaches. Shauna, from your perspective, um, besides maybe helping your own game out, what do you enjoy about the coaching aspect, and what else does it bring to you?
Um, I do love learning from the kids and being able to teach them at the same time. I know that I can grow a lot through them and obviously finding kinks in my own game, but at the same time, I like seeing them happy and enjoying the game because I know that there are kids who don't and who are just there because their parents want them to be there. And it's something where I like to try and bring as much fun to it as I can because I know that not everything is really centered around goalies when it comes to practice time. It's a lot of just getting nailed with shots or sitting there while they're running through plays and doing those types of things, and it gets boring. Honestly, it does get boring sometimes. I felt that a lot in club.
Hmm.
Um, and so being that little outlet for them to, get a half an hour to an hour of just me, like me focusing on them having that attention that they need, that they don't always get from their coaches, is something that I enjoy being able to give them some sort of peace, some sort of backbone to what they're doing. Um, and I make a strong relationship with them because I want to be not just their coach, but I do want to be their friend and I want to be there for them because I know that it's a tough spot to be, especially when you're young and still trying to navigate the mental side of the game. I'm still navigating the mental side of the game. but I know how difficult it was as a sixth grader, a seventh grader, going into high school, doing all of those things. So since I've had the experience, I want to be there to help them through it and make it a little less difficult because I know it is. And I love seeing their happy, smiling, cute little
Mhm.
faces 2 to 3 times a
Definitely.
week.
Even if they don't remember what you just told them to do, they're still so cute.
Probably not. They're just so cute. Makes it
Yeah,
all
but if
so
they're
much
having
better.
fun, eventually and
It'll
it's
click.
that
Click.
boredom piece of it you mentioned.
Mhm.
I started this year a Coach the Coaches kind of
Yeah.
mentorship series, hoping to kind of address that point where there's coaches out there who, for a number of different reasons, just aren't able to spend time with the goalie or don't know how or stuff like that. So, hopefully through some continuous, people like you coming up and coaching and just keep bringing awareness to everyone about what we need as goalies.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of time during practice when I'm not talking to the girls, talking to their coaches, because a lot of the time they ask me questions. And it's nice to know that they care and that they want to make sure that they can be there for their goalie or goalies, however they can be. And I've had a lot of them be like, how can I make them better this way? What can I work on with them? What can I see when you're not there to tell them to fix? Those types of things, like to give them reminders. And I've been able to give them little things based on what I've seen and what I see when they play and they're not with just me. So when they're in that live action, it's completely different. And being able to give them that kind of reassurance that their goalie's doing well or that they need to work on this, it's something that they can figure out because they don't know a lot about the position. Most of them come up to me and be like, I have no clue what's going on in there. Can you help me? And I'm like, of course I'll help you because helping you is going to help them. So doing what I can to support the coach, support the player all together is also something that's really rewarding in the process because you also see the coach grow with their player and they get closer to each other in that aspect because one's trying to learn the other.
Oh, preach, Bean, preach. I love it.
That's very insightful for a 19-year-old. It just blows my mind.
She's got the smarticles. What can I tell you?
Smarticle.
Okay, well, I've
Are
got
they
to be
like smart
respectful of your
particles?
time here. We've passed the hour mark,
Okay.
but we are on the last question, and this is always left by our prior guest. So, my Alfred goalie friend Alyssa left you, Mel, the question of what has been your scariest moment of watching Shauna play?
Oh my gosh. Oh, there it is. I knew it was going to come out at some point. Um, so the scariest moment, I think there's been a few. The scariest physical moment was probably at indoor lacrosse. And Shauna, as you know, never says no, right? So she would be there all day from 7 a.m. She'd be there some days till 4 p.m. playing 4 or 5 games because there weren't enough goalies. So she subbed in on a game against a team who will remain nameless because I'm classy like that. Um, had a coach that all they cared about was winning and they were going to win at any expense. So here I am running the clock, okay, because I always volunteer. So I'm standing in the middle of both teams. And this coach was particularly upset because Shauna wouldn't let anything in the goal. So they were winning. I think Shauna was like 10-0. I can't even remember. It was a pretty high score. And Shauna hadn't let anything in. So I hear the coach say, just throw it at her. She'll move. Well, they did, and she still didn't move. So that made him more angry. So he said, verbatim, throw it at her head. She'll move. And they did. And they threw 3 balls right in a row at her helmet. And the cards were called, all of that. I think one of them wasn't. It looked like she kind of stepped into it, whatever. Um, and I was terrified. I'm standing on the sideline and I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And that is the one time that I opened my mouth And I looked at him and I said, just FYI, I said, that's my daughter in the goal over there. And I said, and if it wasn't my daughter, I'd say something to you. I said, but that's really inappropriate for you to tell them. She came off that field and instantly was nauseous and sick. So I knew right then and there she had a concussion, or something was going on, some sort of issue. So I would say watching her out there in that was probably one of the scariest moments, because watching it unfold, there's absolutely nothing that you can do except sit there and wait and watch. And then I think the second, probably even scarier moment, not even in lacrosse, was basketball. And that was in her, senior year of high school, and watching her go down on that court, not knowing what was going to happen after that. And if it was going to screw up, now her senior year of lacrosse and her scholarship and everything that she had worked for. So those were two very tough moments as a parent, on the sideline watching. Those were some pretty rough and scary moments.
Yeah, definitely that injury. Yeah, I can see how your mind would go there quickly. The coach story, I'm constantly, I don't know why I should be shocked. I'm always shocked that somebody would actually do that. That's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, it was tough. Sorry, I have a visitor. 1 second.
I have a couple trying to eat my toes. Oh, it's little Finn.
Say hi, Finn. But yeah, I'd say that was probably pretty tough,
Yeah, that's I'm actually surprised you kept your composure.
Um, I don't know if I kept my composure the best that I could have at that point. I think I may have used a few choice words. But that's okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, crazy stuff. I don't have any crazy stories like that, but I did have a goalie at one point. All right. Well, our time has pretty much come to an end, but Mel, you get to leave a question for whomever is next. I'm
Well, who's
not
your
sure
next
who it's going to
guest?
be.
You're not sure who it's going to be?
No, I think it's probably going to be a coach.
Like a college coach?
Yes.
I think, what are the top 3 things that a coach looks for in a recruit?
I like it.
And what are the top 3 things that they don't want in a recruit? 2-part question, because I like to be that
I
way.
like it. Both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
That's kind of like when I see goalie footage come my way. Everyone looks the same saving the ball. I want to see the ones that went in. I want to see you slam your stick
Yeah.
on the ground and see how you recover. I don't want to see another stick side high save and another 50-yard clear. It's like, come on, they all look the same after a while.
Yeah, no, I would be really curious, what are the top 3 things you look for in a recruit, and the top 3 things that turn you off to a recruit? Because I think that's really good information for people who might be watching your podcast, or who are looking, to go to college. Any advice that you can get direct from somebody who's right in the mix of it all would be really helpful.
I like it. And if it happens to be an athlete, I'll just reframe that to be like, what are the top 3 things you're trying to highlight about yourself, and what are
Yeah.
so
Or the top 3 things you're looking for in a college,
beautiful. I love it. Well, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate your time. Shauna, thank you for hopping in and enhancing our experience this evening and paying back your mother for hopping in on yours.
Of
Oops.
course.
Although her pop
Gotta
in was
repay it.
about 20 seconds.
Yeah, you've been here the whole time.
Been here for a hot minute.
All right. Again, appreciate your
Understood.
time this evening.
We
Thank you for
appreciate
joining
you.
me. And hopefully Bean, I'll see you very soon. And
I'll see you in a few hours.
yeah, right. And Mel, hopefully I see you soon as well too.
I know. I hope so.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
You're welcome. Good night.
Bye.